First, you must realize that you have no idea before you can know the idea. We scan across all the frequencies if we want to learn anything new. Let us begin.
What has physics done for me lately?
Furthermore, the equation E is equal mc squared.
We have now acquired a fateful power to alter and to destroy nature.
That's like when you're in physics and you go to Dreamworld saying, oh, this is a physics excursion.
Science. What is it all about?
The whole of human history all falls in the dust of one stroke of the nail file. You can't really get to grips with evolution unless you realise what an enormous amount of time.
Our own planet is only a tiny part of the vast cosmic tapestry, a starry fabric of worlds yet untold.
You're tuning in to what can only be described as the best radio station on this blue dot we call Earth. It is, of course, for Triple Z, your community broadcaster, be it on your conventional wireless radio, by tuning into the classic frequency of 102.1 FM, digital devices such as DAB or smart speaker, listening via the Community Radio Plus app, or streaming us live from our sensational website at 4zzz.org. And of course, you can always listen back to our show, or any 4ZZZ show for that matter, using the ingenious on-demand feature also found at that URL. We also now have a weekly podcast of the show for your listening pleasure, curated by Toby, a condensed version of the show without the music, which Mummy prefers. Just search for our show name.
I hate that.
Hated it. Never do that again.
Which is, of course, No Idea, spelt with a K, your weekly dose of science. And joining me, if you haven't heard already, for this episode, which is 700 and whatever, to speak.
Awesome. Love it. Is it even?
No.
No. Great. Max has skipped ahead to next year. He's done.
Two of my favourite science influencers. Good morning, Peter.
Morning, Max.
It's good. We're not meant to say morning, are we? And hello, Gabe.
Hello, Max.
For our
it's a
podcast. Yes.
Good time, Max.
Yeah.
Good time.
675 is the show number.
Sorry.
So 25 behind.
Because Peter loves this segment so much.
Yeah.
You want to know what's special about the number 675?
I just think we could do better.
Planet, 675.
Did you know there is a specific molecule that we release, humans release, to
I'm back
slow
on board.
down,
I like molecules.
to slow down the growth of the placenta before birth.
Really?
Because the placenta has to be spurred into growth, and then it has to be slowed down.
Yeah.
And the molecule is called MER675.
There you go.
What a good molecule. I'm glad that it exists.
Very cool.
I'm sure most mothers
And
are
we'll
glad
speak
it
to you
exists.
next week. Yeah.
That's all we got time for. Yeah. Coming up on the show, Max,
Yes.
Herd Island's year has gone from bad to worse. It is, if you don't know, as remote as you can
I haven't
get
heard.
in Australia. Thank you, Max.
Yeah, it's starting.
Let's actually wrap it up. I think you're right. We should have quit while we were ahead.
After Mummy.
But after...
Before, I would say. Before that. As soon as it feels like we're going to say that, switch it off.
Roll the intro. Better for everyone involved. But Herd Island, you may have recognised the name, heard it before, you may even say, Max, because it was in the news earlier this year for getting hit with some tariffs out of the US.
Yeah.
Even
The
though
penguins.
it's a remote Australian territory.
Yeah.
But now its year has gotten worse because it's been confirmed that bird flu, H5 bird flu, has been found on the island. So I'll get into that discovery, what it means, and the science behind it a little later on in the show. Peter, you've got a bit of a mystery being cracked in turtle navigation.
Yeah, we're doing a lot on turtles today. If you're a turtle fan, today's your show. I'll tell you that.
Great.
And Max, they found something living outside the International Space Station.
They did. They brought something back from outside the International Space Station, which is pretty good.
Okay.
And I've got something coming up from a weird, which may be the first evidence of wild wolves using tools.
Oh, I saw this video.
Really?
I saw this video.
Like a
get
knife
into
and
that.
fork, or?
Similar, Max.
Actually close.
Really? Okay.
You won't believe it.
Let's do it, Peter.
All right. Okay, this is going to be a test of your onlineness. Has anyone seen that TikTok video that guy made about animals in their first minutes of life?
No.
Yes.
haven't seen it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
right, Max, there's this
Okay.
dude, and he's like doing a skit comedy, and it's like most animals in their first minutes. It's like, oh, mum, oh, milk, oh, man, like being looked after. And then it goes to sea turtles, and he's wearing like a helmet and a bulletproof vest, and is like running through the beaches like trenches. And I think, honestly, it was the moment that I was like, oh, great, people know about this now, right? Like this is sort of in the common knowledge now, is that sea turtles specifically, of all turtles, have an insane start to their life. Like it's just absolutely manic. And I will say it's not just sea turtles. There are a lot of spawning individuals, so like lots of things that don't have parents will live like this. But sea turtles have it pretty rough because they're also on a beach, and then there's like birds and sharks, and there's heat that they have to, like there's so many things, so many elements they have to deal with. They can't be too hot, they can't be stepped on, they can't be seen by birds, they can't roll over because they're more vulnerable on the rolled over side. They have to right themselves, they have to get in the water, they have to go past the sharks, they have to try and find shelter. Because it's literally cold.
How hard's their shell? How hard's their shell when they're first
not super hard
crack open the egg?
But it's enough that it's still better than being flipped upside down.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Their bellies are still softer.
They'll often as well, Max, they'll sit in the sand after breaking through the egg, and they'll actually sit in the sand for a bit and wait for the others to hatch so they go out with safety in numbers. But I imagine the shell would harden a bit.
Maybe a little? No, but the safety in numbers is a big thing. And in saying that, when we say safety in numbers, it's safety for the future of the species, not for any one individual. For the individuals, you're essentially just like, well, hopefully it's Greg and not me.
A bit like
That's
fish
really
at their
it.
school and stuff, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sort of. Although even schooling fish also has other benefits of being like, oh, it looks bigger than it is, all those sort of things. Whereas with turtles, it literally just is, if there's more of us, then we're, at least some will get through.
Yeah, that's right.
We can feed other things, essentially. It's stressful and a little depressing. Just be grateful we don't do this, okay? Because that's crazy. The first couple of days of their life, I think it's up to 5 days, is literally called the frenzy state. They're like wind-up toys. They just go and they go and they go for days on end, and they only use the leftover nutrients from their yolk sac. They don't eat when they're in this state. They're just desperately moving, trying to get to deeper waters and safety. So any small thing that lengthens or complicates that journey is going to be a bit of an issue. And recently, some massive sargassum blooms have piled up along Florida's coastline. So sargassum is a type of, it's a kelp, it's a seaweed. You'll probably know it because it's one of the bigger ones. It's got really big leaves. So it's quite leafy and big. And blooms that have piled up on Florida's coastline in the US are up to 1 meter high and stretching for hundreds of meters across the coastline. So it's kind of like if you were a little sea turtle, it's like you're running for the beach and then you sort of just encounter like a hedge, a giant hedge maze. Like it's not great. You can imagine, I mean, they can't really get frustrated. They're just little robots. But like you'd imagine you'd be like, God, not at this again. So they realize that anything, though we know that anything blocking them is going to be an issue, there hasn't actually been that much research as to whether the sargassum itself affects the hatchling mobility and survival chances, because that's the key thing, is can they survive? So some researchers from Florida Atlantic University. QS ranking, please.
Florida Atlantic University. Max, we've been accused of a US bias.
Yes.
I guess is here.
You have a US bias.
I've got a
go
great US
650.
university. 650, I'm going 200.
It's 1,001 to 1,200. The US bias strikes again, boys. Honestly, you're going to need to start reevaluating.
You wait till you
in your
hear
head.
my weird science. That's terrific.
Okay, so the researchers set out to measure how much sargassum physically delays hatchlings and whether it uses extra energy and leaves them in a poorer condition. Because remember, they're not eating, so they only have the one set of energy reserves.
Can't they eat the kelp?
What? No. Well, let me just pause here for a second to nibble on some kelp. Don't mind me, seagulls. I'll make my own way. Just give me a second. I've got to refuel. No, they don't eat. They go on their egg yolk sac and they just go and go and go for days. So they looked at 3 different species, which are leatherback, loggerhead, and green turtles. We have those here as well. They're pretty cosmopolitan. They're all over the world. And the hatchlings all came from nests on Juno Beach, Jupiter, and Boca Raton. You don't need to know where they are. They're in the US. And then, so this is where the sargassum is increasingly common. So what the researchers did, which is interesting, is they actually created 15-meter sand runways, which were designed to mimic the natural beach conditions. So I couldn't confirm whether they did this in a lab, but they definitely did it in controlled conditions, not really out in the wild. And then at the far end of each of the paths, they built loose piles of sargassum at 2 heights. There was light sargassum, which was up to 9 centimeters, and then heavy sargassum, which was up to 19 centimeters, which again, baby turtle versus 19 centimeters centimeters of sargassum. That's essentially a wall. So you were approaching a wall. And then they also put like a little dim LED light at the end, which is the ocean glow, because that's what the hatchlings follow at nighttime, as they try and find the glow of the ocean. So they did that. And then they recorded their time that it took them to complete the crawl, their speed with and without the sargassum, and the number of inversions, which is when they flip onto their backs, which, as we said, can be quite dangerous for them. And then whether the hatchlings failed to reach the end within the allowed time. So they were being tested, essentially. They were given a time limit.
Okay. Did they have drones mimicking birds as well? Like
no, but maybe that could be something they do in the future, is go, and freak them out. Actually, I do a really good seagull impression, but it's maybe not for here. So essentially, after each crawl, the hatchling, they actually tested their blood glucose after the crawl to evaluate the energy expenditure. And they did a writing test, which is a very common test that they do with baby sea turtles, where they put the hatchling in shallow water and flip it to measure how quickly they can flip themselves back over.
Okay.
Which is, maybe not fun for the hatchling, but a very good way of testing whether they have good body, like whether they have a neuromuscular fatigue in their condition. Okay, so the answers. What are we thinking? If you had to have a guess, what do you think would happen with this?
Big wall, because they expend more energy going over it.
Yeah?
Smaller wall, okay, because they can climb over it without expending too much energy.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, generally, the light sargassum was usually a lot better. So it varied per species, but for light sargassum, it increased the leatherbacks 54% time, so 54% extra time to get to the ocean. Loggerheads were 91%, so almost doubling their time it took to get to the ocean. And then with heavy sargassum, they were more even, but loggerheads again had the worst time, where it was 175% increase in their time. Leatherbacks 158%, green turtles 159%. And I'm specifying on the leatherbacks because they are critically endangered. They are really, really endangered. So this is important to check. So loggerheads showed the greatest drop in speed, and the bulk of the delay came from the climb up and over the piles, which is what you would expect. Apparently, even the small piles were pretty challenging, and some hatchlings could not complete the climb in time, even with the small piles. The sargassum, especially the heavy sargassum, caused frequent tumbles. So one hatchling flipped more than 20 times in a single run, which is very, very bad. Like that's really not great for their survival. But there was one silver lining. They found that their blood glucose levels did not differ between hatchlings with or without sargassum, which suggests that even though the journey is slower and definitely more dangerous, it doesn't immediately exhaust their energy stores. So if they get through it,
anyway.
They might be built for it anyway. So if they get through it, they should be okay, or like the same amount of okay, realistically, which is really good. But yeah, so the main thing is just that it slows them down and makes them more vulnerable to a variety of different threats. And especially when they flip over. And the one key thing to know here is that one of the reasons the sargassum has appeared this year and will continue to appear is that sargassum thrives in warmer waters, and they are fairly sure that moving forward with climate change, this is going to become more and more and more frequent. So it's going to be something that's actually going to pose a bit of a question of, should we be controlling it, moving it? How do we deal with turtles on the beach? Like, at what point is it not natural? And how can we help these little sea turtles, especially things like leatherbacks, which really need every hatchling they can to get to the sea?
Well, we know where they hatch, don't we? We know the hatching grounds, don't we?
We know most of them,
so we could potentially clear off some of that.
You could, but then so then you have this question, and this is a question with all of ecology, is anything relying on that? And so realistically, the point becomes is you have to decide, when is it human, like when did we change the system? How much of the system is us? And then you can theoretically remove that part of it, because you're getting rid of your own disturbance. But you don't want to change the natural order of things, because naturally, as Gabe pointed out, they seem to be okay with sargassum to some extent. They have and a way to deal with it. You just have to figure out how much.
Their gobbles sounded like guffaws in the early sun. But what's worse is that last night I found out they may not have even liked it, because a new study from the University of Exeter has found out that seagulls prefer to eat seafood.
What is... Issy, did we miss out on something last night? Well, these two have woken up in a mood. Reciting poetry, tall tales of seagull woes. What's happening?
Seagull woes. You tune into 4ZZZ, and the show is No Idea Yet, your weekly dose of science with me, Max. We've got Gabe, we've got Peta. We've also got a SMS line. We had DJ Oz text in wanting to know what the QS ranking, what university holds the QS ranking of 675, which is the episode number for this week. Gabe?
There isn't one, Max, because there's 3 equal on 673. So they take up 73, 74 and 75.
Fair enough.
And then next week we'll have some for 76.
Okay. Let's do part 2 of this. What do you got for us, Gabe?
Since 2021, the Heiltsuk Nations, First Nations people in British Columbia, so southwest Canada, have been dealing with a problem of invasive crabs, European green crabs along the coast. And one of the ways they control their numbers is simply by getting them out of the water. So they put some herring or some bits of sea lion carcasses into crab traps, throw those crab traps into water at varying depths, and then remove any of the European green crabs they pull up. 2 years ago, though, in one specific area, they kept finding crab traps that had been dragged to shore and had their bait removed. Some of the nets had been ripped. Sometimes the traps were completely destroyed. They ruled out humans, or you can rule out humans because it's damage that a human wouldn't cause if they were trying to just pull crabs out of a trap. And it seemed to be going for the bait as well, not the crabs within the trap.
Which, who wants dead herring? Herring.
There were
Swedish people.
Yeah. There were various depths set out, but the ones in deep water never get exposed even at the lowest of tides. So they ruled out the wolves and the bears in the regions because they wouldn't be able to see them and get to them. So they were like, okay, it must be a marine animal. So we must be looking at harbour seals or stellar sea lions or sea otters or river otters. Must be grabbing them, pulling them to shore, grabbing them from underwater, pulling them to shore, and ripping them apart and getting the food out.
Otters is a good guess. Otters do that stuff.
And so they set up cameras to monitor what's happening to these crab traps. Just 2 days into the recording, they saw the culprit. The lead researcher, Kyle Artelli, said, "I couldn't believe my eyes when we opened up that camera." And I do want to say, like, this is a bold claim of what they're saying here, that it could be tool use in an animal. So we'll get into that. But I'm just going to describe what they saw. The camera cuts in. It's one of these camera traps, so wildlife recording cameras. It detects movement or temperature or something, and then starts recording. So it cuts in, and you can see a wolf swimming towards the shore, rocky shore. In its mouth, it's carrying a buoy. The buoy is linked to the floater above a crab trap that's held beneath the water. It's sort of the marker for the researchers to know where it is, and for the First Nations people to do this removal of the crabs. And so during the video, you can see the wolf carrying the buoy, and then she pulls the buoy up onto the beach, and then she drops the buoy, walks down the beach, picks up the line beneath the buoy, and pulls it further back up the beach until the trap is partially emerged from the water. She then drops the line, walks down the beach again, picks up more of the line, pulls it back up further to the beach, places it down, goes in, grabs the trap that's now at the edge of the water, pulls it up, and then yanks at it, and the video cuts out and back in, but you can see that she pulls the bait cup out, gets the bait cup out, eats that, the net ends up a bit ripped in the process, consumes the bait, and then leaves. All takes about 3 minutes from the starting point of the wolf swimming towards the water.
Cool.
Pretty damn cool, right? And the thing is, it's a big tool use. That's a big claim in wolves. It's never been established that there's been tool use in wild wolves. In domestic dogs, there has been.
Obviously,
and in dingoes,
we see it all the time.
Captive dingoes, there has been, and they're the same species, different subspecies maybe, but the same species, Canis lupus. And so never been seen in wild animals. So it's a big claim. And when I first saw this, I'm like, okay, this is someone's one-off recording. But it's actually part of a paper that's come out with it as well by two very established biologists, published in Ecology and Evolution, the journal. There's a couple institutions involved. There's only one with a QS. It's the University of Victoria in Canada. Do you want to take a stab at that one?
We've done this one. It's like 64 or something.
Max?
I'm looking it up.
Max, what? That's not the point of the segment. Why would you look it up?
333.
It's 358. You nearly looked it up in time, Max.
It didn't find it anyway.
And so they discuss whether or not this constitutes tool use. Basically, it comes down to a definition debate on what is tool use. They say it is, but you can never rule out with animals that it's just trial and error. That it could just be, she stuffs around with the crab traps eventually. She gets one and realizes there's food and eats the food, That's, you can't rule that out.
You can't rule it out, but man, I mean.
However, they say the multi-step behaviors that were exhibited are pretty solid evidence that you can rule out trial and error. The fact that the trap was not visible.
Yes.
So there was probably a mental connection made between the boy being linked to a food with the trap down below.
Yeah.
And then there's multiple steps of pulling the line until the trap appears from beneath the boy as well.
Yeah.
And then they also use the term unwaveringly purposeful focus, which has been used for over 100 years to describe novel problem solving in animals that are non-human animals.
It's like when crows put rocks in water.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's reminding me of, is that methodical focus of solving a problem.
Or when they open wheelie bins.
Yeah.
Like, or when cockatoos open willy bins. Yeah, exactly.
It's focus.
So they say, and so you can differentiate that from just simple rope pulling that you might see in a pet dog, where they're just sort of tugging at a rope for no purpose. There was focus in this pulling on the line to get the trap in.
It could be how they discovered it. It could have been, oh, look at this fun thing in the water. I've bit this, and then, whoops, there's food. Now I'm going to do this every time.
What about watching humans do it, and then they
could be that.
Yeah.
So that's they do say that in the paper that it could be they could have watched the humans do it and seen that it led to the food coming up. So that's one possibility.
That would be even cooler, in my opinion,
because they don't know where it came from. They don't know if this wolf is the one that's developed it or has learnt it from others or whatever it might be. They do say there is a definition of tool use that requires the tool to be made. So we talked about this recently with the
that's tool making versus tool use.
The first tool use being discovered in the 1970s by Jane Goodall, Dr. Jane Goodall in the chimpanzee population she was looking at, and that was the first tool use was using
the grass,
blades of grass. Just
to get the ants
and fishing out ants, and then she saw them using changing twigs to be good for fishing them out. So there was sort of two steps there. So some people will only consider it tool use if there's some tool construction involved, but they do say they have a great line in the paper.
You're not
itself
having any of this, are you, Peter?
No, it's tool use.
Listen to this. The researchers write themselves. By analogy, these very words were typed on a computer whose inner workings the authors do not fully understand. Yet we believe and hope our use of them suggests that we too possess some measure of higher cognition.
Yes, thank you, researchers. Because that
played.
imagine all of the stuff you're going to just throw out the window if you decide that you have to make the tool. Like crows putting rocks in glasses of water. That is tool use. They've found a tool. You don't have to make a tool to use a tool. You've decided this thing works for this job.
Exactly.
So I'm going to, like when people were using, obsidian to make spears and things. Using the obsidian itself is tool use. You found a rock to sharpen another rock. Does it matter that you didn't make the first rock?
No. But they sharpen the other rock, which is the differentiation.
I'm saying that first rock is a tool in itself. It doesn't make that less of a tool.
What will be interesting now is to see if it's behaviour that is just in this one individual wolf or if it's being shared amongst multiple wild wolves.
Yeah.
They do have another clip from February this year of a different wolf in the same area. And annoyingly, the camera trap cuts out for the worst bits of this. But it walks up to a partially submerged trap, so one that it can see, and it does pull the line to get it up onto shore. And then the camera cuts out, and 8 minutes later, that one's on shore. And then there's a second crab pot that they don't know where it came from. That's also on shore. So that could have been one from
Maybe
deeper
they're carrying
water.
it around, just like seeing if it'll get stuck.
This is the thing. It's either come from shallow water or on the shore already from out of frame, or it's come from deeper in the water. And it's just displayed the same behavior, but it is ripping the bait out of that one as well.
Do you think maybe they can smell it? Because I remember, look, this is a personal anecdote. It is not science, but my dog learned how to fish by accident. We did not teach him. But he would sniff the water and he'd be able to like duck his head down and there would be a fish there. Like he could smell them through the water, which I thought was always incredible. But I wonder, like, maybe because the buoys would have fish guts on them from when people are putting them in and out. So you could probably smell it from the buoys itself.
But they also could have learned off the ones that were already exposed and gradually to deeper ones. But they say, they want to see if this is wider and then you can start looking into, okay, why would this have developed in these wolves or this one wolf or this group of wolves, and why not others? Is it just a case of we haven't seen this behavior and it is common in wild wolves to use some variation of tool use? Or is it just something about these ones? They say these wolves have quite low persecution from humans historically, which is not normal for wolves across most of their range. So potentially that means they're less vigilant, they have more confidence and time to do these do these other things, similar to how we talked about those white-faced capuchin monkeys on that Panama island that have developed stone tool use.
Yes.
And the researchers and then they also started kidnapping other different species of monkeys, the howler monkeys on the island, and the researchers say it could just be that these islands have such good conditions for them that they have so much time and get bored that they develop all this other stuff.
Yeah,
There could be a similar thing where these wolves, maybe they have that extra time and confidence from not being persecuted by humans that we can see behaviors like this, more complicated behaviors that other wolves that are spending more time avoiding humans wouldn't have time to develop. There's a whole lot of guesswork going into it. We do know now. I think it is safe to say that this is tool use in wolves, certainly not tool construction.
This show's opinion is that is tool use.
The first instance
we're
of tool
taking a
use
stand
in a wild wolf. And we also have that link that we know that domestic dogs and captive dingoes, which are the same species, also exhibit various types of tool use, like they have examples of carrying hockey pucks with a plastic flying disc or shaping bones into back scratches and moving chairs to access food in domestic dogs. The captive dingoes have been seen getting objects that are out of height by standing upon and getting objects to reach or get better views of things. They can pull something in and stand on top of it. And so there seems to be evidence of tool use across this Canis lupus species, the species of wild wolves and dogs. And so they're very keen to see if there's any more evidence of it out there for us to discover. And that's what I've got for you, Max.
Beautiful. DJ Oz also texted in saying that it's probably the smell that they're hooking into. So, yeah, maybe, like you said, Peter.
There's also, since then, been some developments in the field, including it getting a different name that scientists give it. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Peter's going to hate it. It's called the Autosomical Dominant Compelling Helio-Ophthalmic Outburst Syndrome, or the Achu syndrome.
Oh, nice.
Oh, my God. I do hate... What? There's no reason for that.
Yeah.
You tune into 4ZZZ, and the show is No Idea with me, Max. We've got Issy here, we've got Gabe, and we've got Peter, and we've got part 3 of this. This research comes from Binghamton University in New York, QS ranking.
Binghamton?
Binghamton. Oh, goodness. We're
310.
850.
450.
Remember when I said, Peter, that you're going to love my weird science? It's 1,000. It's in a band. 1,000.
It's in the same band.
Yeah, it's in the same band.
Nice.
It's 1,200. The study is titled Plastic Behavioural Responses to Ambient Relative Humidity Influence Aggregation in a Large Gregarious Insect. Doesn't that roll off the tongue?
So essentially, depending on the humidity and the plastics at hand, how does this insect respond?
Correct. And it's recently appeared in the journal Ethology. The large gregarious insect cited in their paper is none other than the Madagascar hissing cockroach.
How
nice.
Yeah.
At around 5 to 7 centimetres in length, it is widely used in educational settings. Surprisingly, many aspects of their natural history are not well understood. Do you want to talk more about it, Gabe, about the Madagascar hissing cockroach?
Do you know them?
No. They're all over. People who keep insects and reptiles and other weird creatures.
It's your go-to
they've often
cockroach.
got some of these. They're one of those ones that has entered the pet trade and are very common.
Okay.
If you've seen a big cockroach before, it may have been a Madagascar hissing one.
In their native Madagascar, these cockroaches form large social groups. The African island, which lies off the southeastern coast, is the world's 4th largest island and experiences both a wet and a dry season. Researchers found that their tendency to aggregate is connected with swings in humidity. When the humidity is low...
I mean, same.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I also don't like to go out and socialise when it's humid. It's disgusting.
Cockroaches in the experiment were significantly more likely to congregate, with more of them in physical contact with one another. Clustering was less common under high humidity, where water loss was less profound. Groups that did form included fewer individuals in the high humidity. When the air is dry, insects lose water through their cuticles and breathing.
So they're suggesting that they group not only for social reasons, but also so they don't lose as much water.
That's it, yeah. And this adaptation can help them fend off desiccation, the removal of water, including a layer of hydrocarbons on their exoskeletons and changes in metabolic rates. Clustering is another such strategy which has been previously observed in small insects and insect larvae. By grouping together...
Stay hydrated, friends.
Yeah,
Have friends.
the cockroach, they reckon that by grouping together, the cockroaches create a type of microclimate that increases humidity in their immediate area. But this strategy comes at a cost because clustering could increase social competition or make the insects easier for prey to be preyed upon. Hissing cockroaches who dwell on the forest floor play an important role in the environment as decomposers and prey for other animals. Changes.
I love that. You have an important role in the ecosystem. You are prey.
You are food.
You are food for other, more important members of the ecosystem.
Changes in their behaviour could end up influencing the larger ecosystem, which is already experiencing the impact of climate change. Madagascar's dry seasons are becoming longer and more severe, with the humidity in some regions dropping to very low levels. Okay. That's all I got, really. It's got a bit more, but it's not that interesting, so it chomps out.
Oh, well, that's good. That's glad to know.
Biological representation in emojis is a joke. I'm sick of it. You keep looking for stuff. There's like 4 versions of a chicken and 1 eagle, and then there's no other bird.
Okay, but we do need to acknowledge our own privilege in this situation, is that Japanese people love Australian animals, and so there is a koala and a kangaroo on there. Like, we're slightly overrepresented.
And 2 types of
mushroom. If you compare that to New Zealand, there's no kiwi.
There's only like 2 trees. One of them's a sapling.
Hey, there's a palm tree.
Yeah. We heard from Gabe there, ranting on...
I think it's 3 trees if you include the Christmas tree.
Was that our emoji discussion?
Yeah. I think there's definitely more than 2 trees now. Gabe's only seen the 2 trees.
Fair enough. You tune into 4ZZZ, and the show is No Idea with me, Max. We've got Issy, we've got Gabe, and we've got our friendly neighbourhood marine scientist, Peta.
Do you know what tuna is?
Fish.
It's fish!
Thank God someone's working on this. I don't know what I'd do without it.
Fish are friends, not food.
Great start.
Gabe, what does a cat say?
Yeah.
Max, what does a chicken say?
Cluck, cluck.
And Issy, what does a shark say?
All right. We have major news this week. An update in turtle migration. So, and in my first story, we kind of stopped at the beach, right? We've been talking about turtles today. We stopped at the beach in my first story. But I feel like I've spoken a lot over the years about turtle migration, right? We've sort of done this. So we sort of remember the big things in turtle migration that we've spoken about.
The big things in turtle migration that we've spoken about.
Well, good to know that I've had such a big impact on your lives, everybody.
There was a discovery of the lost years, right?
Where
they found potentially the hatchlings, when they enter the water, they go somewhere to get bigger, and then they come back, and we sort of had a good idea of the hatchlings entering the water and the bigger things appearing somewhere else, and those bits in between where they're the dinner plate size and lower. We weren't really sure
juveniles,
where they go,
where they went. So
and you can't really track them because they're too small to put good tags on.
And then when they grow so rapidly as well that they pop them off as well. There's lots of different reasons why you can't tag them. Because also when they're juveniles, when they leave the beach, when they're hatchlings, you can't put a tag on that thing.
Most of them are ending up inside another fish or shark.
A, that. B, they're just
if
tiny.
you want to track the sharks, I guess.
They're so small, so it's very difficult to track them. And Gabe is right. They are. This time is called the lost years, and it is years. It can be up to decades, like decades of we don't know where this turtle is. It's just somewhere in the ocean. It's an absolutely wild life cycle that has baffled scientists for years. We only found out about that. So when they hatch and they have this life cycle, when they come back to brood and put their lay eggs, they come back to the exact same beach that they were born on. And that was something we didn't even know until like the 70s, when this guy had he clipped hatchlings on beaches, and he was like, oh, I'll see when I see them again, whatever. And told scientists around the world.
Honestly, Max, that's what they were thinking. thinking?
No,
About
they
10
were
years?
thinking under 10 years.
Yeah?
They thought like 3 to 5.
Yeah.
And he told scientists around the world to go look for his turtles that he'd clipped.
Yeah.
And it turned out 20 years later they
Really?
returned to his beach. And
They-
he was
they
sort of
thought
like,
they'd lost them
what? Yeah, they thought they'd just gone. So they were like, well, guess they're gone. They
Yeah.
thought maybe the shells started regrowing.
Yeah, yeah.
There were all these theories about how they must have gone somewhere else or regrown because there's no way we just missed them. We absolutely did. We missed them.
They just
Didn't know
don't
where
show
they
up
went.
for a good
What a
20,
great
30
story.
years.
Yeah.
Great story, great research from this guy. Can you imagine the day that he found one again? You're like, wait, hang on, what? And then there would have been multiple of them, of the same
Yeah.
clutches coming back
Okay.
to that same beach. It would have been
Ah.
crazy. The mystery still remains about how they get back to those beaches from hundreds of kilometers away. How do they navigate, right? They're turtles. They've got reptile brains, literally. They are. There's not much going on upstairs. I don't know if you've swum with a turtle before, but the lights aren't really on inside. So there's this big question of how do they navigate. So both what direction to swim, like actively, how do they turn, and where they are on the planet. So like a map. So both a compass and a map. That's the two questions. And animals can detect. There's a theory, and we've spoken about this on the show before. The theory has been magnetic fields.
Yep.
A lot of animals will navigate using magnetic fields, including birds. And there's two ways that we know that animals can detect magnetic fields. So one of them is light dependent. It's essentially some cryptochromes on their retina, which means they literally see magnetism. And this, I think, is the most common one for birds. They can see magnetic fields and orient themselves that way. The second one is the one that we spoke about on the show, which is a magnetite-based mechanism, which is teeny tiny crystals within your muscles and your cellular structure that can sort of feel the magnetic field.
And I think wasn't the big limitation was we couldn't understand how a living organism would be able to pick up the differences in those signals.
Yeah, especially because there was some research that came out that said that humans have an ability to feel magnetic fields and we clearly don't, or at least don't recognize it. We're sort of clueless like that. So there was this big question of, they might have it, but can they even feel it? Can we prove that they feel it? How do you know?
Is magnetite?
Magnetite, yeah.
Isn't proof that you can actually
use it.
Exactly, yeah.
So some research from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. QS ranking, please.
University of North Carolina.
University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
Chapel Hill campus. Okay.
I don't even know if it's a campus. It's the name of the university.
1,500.
Yeah, it's in a van.
Let's do 1,100.
I'll do 1,200 to 14.
I was with all of you guys. It's 140.
Oh my God.
The name really threw
The
me
name
off.
really
At Chapel Hill. Like, what? What do you mean? Anyway, so University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, some researchers from there wanted to test out some loggerheads. So these are, again, turtles that we have here as well, to see if they could figure it out. Now, the results have been published in experimental biology. And what does that mean, Gabe?
What do you mean?
If it's in experimental biology, what's one of the things they did?
Oh, they would have done a control test?
They did experimental biology. They
Actually
did test it rather than just look in the field. So they had loggerheads that they raised. And
in a lab with
in a lab.
magnetic fields around a tub is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, so you're close, exactly. So they used a technique very similar to Pavlovian conditioning, which is that thing where he rung a bell every time he gave a dog food, and then essentially the dog learnt that the bell meant food and salivated at the sound of the bell. It's a very common thing that they use in a lot of studies now. So they did a thing that's similar to Pavlovian conditioning, but they used a behavioural cue that turtles naturally produce when anticipating food, which we'll get into soon. It's very cute. So the hatchlings were placed into specific magnetic fields. For example, the magnetic signature found near Turks and Caicos or Haiti, different things. And then each time the hatchlings were fed inside that recreated field, they did a little dance. So that's the recognition cue, is a little dance. They lift their bodies, they open their mouths, and they waggle their flippers. They're like little dance in the water, like splashing around. And that is something they genuinely do when they approach food in the wild. So it's not a taught behavior; it's a natural behavior to food. But it was the way that the researchers knew that they were predicting food. They were like, food is about to happen to me. And so, essentially, they taught them that every time they're in that field, to associate that field with food. So then they would do the dance in that field. So they said it was actually quite difficult to do this because, again, reptiles, not the most brilliant creatures. They spent 2 months feeding and conditioning these 8 turtles to reliably dance in their field, because they're not that smart. But the researcher did say it was really fun, just very time consuming, which I imagine it would be, feeding baby turtles. And so then, this is how they did it. This is the experimental part. Each hatchling was exposed to a strong magnetic pulse. And friends, from watching various action movies. What does a strong magnetic pulse do?
What does a strong What do you mean? What does it do?
And action movies.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, we've got a big pulse, magnetic pulse. It's like electromagnetic pulse machine.
What?
You guys haven't seen this? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Essentially, like knocks out your ability to read magnetic fields.
Oh, really? Okay.
So it disrupts the magnetite and temporarily would knock out any sense based on physically feeling magnetic fields. So you knock out that sense. And then they pop them back in the exact same magnetic field that they'd been trained to recognize and saw whether they still did the dance behavior. And after pulsing, the hatchlings danced significantly less when exposed to their magnetic field.
Yeah, right.
Which shows that they could no longer recognize the magnetic location as a cue, which means because only the magnetite-based mechanism was disabled, they aren't relying on light. They are relying on the feeling of the magnetic field, this feel sense, to determine where they are, that map.
Wow.
Now, the researchers do point out there's a couple things here. So we know that they use magnetite-based sense for understanding geographic position, like their GPS, which is amazing. That's a huge breakthrough in understanding how they get around. But we haven't figured out the compass thing yet, how they actually decide which direction to turn. So they think that might rely on the light-dependent magnetism, and they might have both to use for different things. The thing that we know now is that they at least need that feeling. They need to feel the magnetic field.
To sense it,
To sense it.
They're picking up on the magnetite and how that's interacting with the magnetic fields of the planet.
Yes, exactly.
What do the next 50 years of 4ZZZ sound like? We have no idea.
Yeah. As you tune into 4ZZZ, and the show is No Idea with me, Max. We've got Issy, we've got Gabe, and we've got Maximillian.
Okay, it's time for the best part of the show. Loosely defined as science here, you already know. Everybody listens to 4ZZZ just to hear us talking about what Butters just did. Subscriptions just keep rolling like the tires on a car. But something tells me that our science curves won't go far. But unlike an engine, I won't keep you in suspension. We're all here to hear him talk, so let's give him attention. You're not ready for when he starts rapping. Gonna hand the mic to Max, and I'm not talking Van Stappen.
F1.
That intro has a shelf life, doesn't it, Matt? At some point, despite your best efforts, where Bottas is no longer relevant enough.
Oh, goodness. We'll have to reach out to Jay again.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, can we re-record it?
It'll be a deeper voice, too.
Yes.
Anyone, F1 happened in Las Vegas. What happens in Vegas? Can it just stay in Vegas? Because it was a disappointing weekend. It was the start of a triple header. And so...
What? Yeah. What a weekend.
A triple header to see out the season.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's the pointy end of the championship.
And as it turned out, the McLarens got disqualified because they were 0.07 of a millimetre shy of the 9 mil they needed for their plank wear. So they wear their plank too far and were disqualified, similar to the Ferrari earlier this year by Hamilton. So
it's actually less than that. It's like on Oscars, I've just pulled it up.
Yeah.
It's like at the front, it's 0.04 of a millimetre.
Yeah. So less than
like
a hair width.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's
so
incredible.
yeah, well, at least they got one of the McLaren boys got to go to the podium in the Lego Cadillac.
Yes, I did see that. There was some really interesting retrospective footage coming out of Lando Norris looking quite disappointed in that car. So everyone was wondering if someone had tapped him on the shoulder and just said, "Hey, heads up." But what an interesting race as well to witness.
Yeah.
But yeah, a double disqualification to end off the championship is not what you want unless
you're driving a Red Bull and your name's Max Verstappen.
Yes.
He's in it now.
He's
still on.
He's equal with Aussie Oscar Piastri. So the Maxi won the race. George Russell was then elevated to second, and Kimi was third.
I like how we've just completely skipped over qualifying as well.
Yeah, the wet qualifying.
Oh my goodness.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
What?
Desert rain.
Desert rain. Alex Albon's crash as well literally had my jaw dropped because and he made it all the way to the pits.
Anyway.
Despite the fact a front wing dragging, a front tire dragging.
The qualifying.
Lance Stroll, by the way, becoming possessed by the soul of Senna whenever there's a drop of water on the track, because he did quite well in qualifying.
And then he went on the slicks.
And then he went on slicks, yes. Yeah. And I do enjoy, as someone who does work in communications, the marketing departments of Mercedes having to quickly rewrite all of their social media things, hearing that McLaren was disqualified. So there was some
they
great...
They constructed it MS Paint, right?
MS Paint images of Kimi Antonelli being photoshopped into the podium. I really appreciated that. But yes, what a mess.
Any more to add about the F1?
Anything, Gabe?
No. It was fantastic. If you haven't watched it, it's a great one to catch the highlights of.
Yeah.
Kind of F1 at its best.
It was really a nice move that Verstappen did at the start, I think.
As well, yeah. Tricking Norris
Young Lando
into going long. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And anyway, the championship's still alive. So what's the current tally?
I don't know. How do you mean? Are we talking about the Aussie anthem yet or not?
Oh no! I mean the real championship, not the more important one.
I think there's 24. 24. If there's a DNF and Max wins next, like if the McLaren DNFs and Verstappen wins it, then he'll be equal footing with Norris, and then it'll be all to play for on the final race.
Yeah, so Oscar and Verstappen are equal on 366, and Lando's ahead on 390.
Yeah.
Which does mean, like, if I think it's just like he needs to come fifth in the sprint and win the race, and it's a Lando Norris championship. Which
it is
definitely not something I thought I'd say at the start of the year.
That's right. I'm going to do an Aussie anthem recap. So earlier this year, the No Idea team speculated on how many times the Australian anthem would be played each Wednesday. At the time, Aussie Oscar Piastri was invincible, I'm saying. I called it early saying 12 times. Gabe went conservative with 8. Maximillian said 9. And Issy, you went 10.
Mm-hmm.
The current No Idea Aussie anthem count stands at 7. Now, there are only 3 more chances to play the anthem. There's a sprint weekend, so that's 2 races, and then 1 final race. So there might be 3 more opportunities to play the anthem, which would bring it up to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Izzy?
Yes.
Are you feeling confident?
I don't know.
Or will Gabe get it with just the one play? We'll find out in 2 weeks' time. F1 Academy, hit us up, Izzy.
Yep. Championship decided last weekend with Maureen Walker, Paul Walker's daughter, helping out with handing out the trophies. It was also the launch of the Hello Kitty F1 Academy race, so everything was doused in a little bit of pink, which was quite exciting.
Tell us about the Hello Kitty. I didn't know what this is.
Well, Susie Wolf spoke a little bit about it, how she felt that pink was quite a mocking colour when she started racing in motorsport, but now has come to embrace it as part of the, I guess, the fun of F1 Academy. There was an American driver, I believe. It was also the launch of the F1 Academy Lego set that came out.
Really?
So there was a lot of
cool.
Lego merchandising for Las Vegas. If you can get the headlines, Dorian Pan, the French driver, has been crowned the 2025 F1 Academy Championship after dominating this year's calendar, and Las Vegas was no different, with her earning points in both race 1 and race 2. It was quite lovely to see. She's a Mercedes driver, so the support from Kimi and George Russell, and of course Toto Wolff, the Mercedes head team member. So there was a nice kind of family portrait with Susie Wolf, Toto Wolff, and Dorian Pan.
Their daughter.
It wasn't all smiles though, because second coming in was Maya Wegg, who unfortunately didn't earn any points in race 1 after she crashed into the back of Tina Hassman's car on the formation lap of that race, which furthered the gap.
Which is a real rookie mistake.
And she. This is not her first year. This is her second and her final year in F1 Academy.
And we said last week we were expecting her to win the championship this year.
Yes. So that made that created a gap of about 20 points, which would be near impossible to receive in the second race. So it effectively was done in the end of first race. And she was quite upset as well. The Ferrari leader as well, Fred Fisser, was seen comforting her afterwards. But it is quite hard. I've been looking around. She doesn't look like she's signed to any team for 2026. So whether she takes a break, or I know she's been working in Formula 3. So we'll see where she pops up. She's had a really strong race this time, race year. This time last year, she came in third as well for the championship. So second is not at all too bad. It'll certainly look great on any sort of resume. So I wish her the best of luck in future. Third but not final was Chloe Chambers, who dominated race 2 on her home soil. She's the US driver. She is in a similar scenario as Weg team-wise, with no signings for future teams, but she's also
because they can't race next year because they've done 2 seasons.
They've done the 2 seasons. So once again, in F1 Academy, if you win Formula 1 Academy and you're in your second year, you get your next year paid off. So that means Dorian Pan can pick whoever would like to sign. It's all basically subsidized for her.
Gotcha.
So Chloe Chambers is in a similar situation where she is in her final year. So So we'll see if she pops up in Formula E, because I know she's been doing test racing there. As for our Aussies, Ava Agnostopoulos came 17th and Joanna Sitikun came 14th. So they're both in their first years of F1 Academy, so they've got another year behind them. So hopefully with Ava's foot injury and hopefully Joanna can continue in her team, so we may see them dominate next year. But yeah, overall a fantastic season for F1 Academy. It's always super interesting to see the girls race, and Las Vegas was a fantastic way for people to really enjoy the whole day and see the girls racing, because it was race 1 on Saturday and race 2 on Sunday. So I think it's and
it was good to watch the race in Australia because it was at 2:00 in the afternoon.
It was at 2:00 in the afternoon, so I was at work with
pretty convenient
with it up on my phone while serving customers, and it was quite nice just being able to see them at a normal time. So I'm excited for everyone to take summer break and come back, and we'll see who gets signed as well for next year.
So the natural pathway for them now would be F3 or Formula E.
Yes,
I'm thinking
it seems that's been the pattern. Especially Abby Pulling last year got signed to the champion from last year got signed to Formula E, I believe. She's now a test driver. So I think that will be the natural kind of pathway through. Of course, I'd be open to any of these girls jumping into F2 and then hopefully, fingers crossed, F1, as is the program desired to do. But we'll see. I'm hoping to see Dorian Pan pop up in those kinds of leagues.
Or even sports car racing.
She's done Le Mans, so she's definitely got a lot of endurance racing background.
Just not so much in the single-seaters yet.
Not in the single-seaters, but yes, regardless, I'm excited to see where these girls go.
And F2 we'll talk about next week because it's the final 2 races coming up this weekend in Qatar. So that should be interesting to see because it hasn't been decided yet. So yeah, we'll speak more about that. Any more to add, Maximillian?
I think that's it.
Cool.
Supercars this weekend as well. Final.
Oh, it is too. Yeah. And there's only 4 people who can win the championship with this playoff.
And SailGP's this weekend as well in Abu Dhabi.
Nice.
What do you got for us, Gabe?
Max, you've sent me some incredible research on prosocial behaviour, the act of helping others. Yesterday on the tram, Max, I noticed this. I got so there was an elderly lady got on with a walker and had trouble getting up the stairs of the tram, and so it was so relevant to the study because the sound of the walker she lifted up the first step, and everyone went oh, and suddenly realised, sort of broke out from looking at phones and staring out the window, and people helped her onto the tram and helped her off again. And this research, Max, has looked into, in such a wild way, has looked into such a similar idea because these spontaneous environmental triggers can sometimes break us out of the monotony of our life that we're in that often blinds us to how we can be prosocial, how we can behave in a prosocial way. Like you sort of look up and go, oh, I genuinely had no idea this person needed a seat, but otherwise I would have stood up. And so what they did is they observed a kind of experimental study in 138 rides on the metro in Milan. And in the control condition, a female experimenter who appeared pregnant boarded the train with an observer. And in those conditions, 37% of people, so, just over a third of people offered their seat.
Right.
And then in the experimental condition, Max, at the same time as the pregnant appearing woman hopped on the train, another person who was dressed as Batman also walked onto the train. And in that case, 2/3 of people offered the seat. More than, or about double the number of people offered their seat in the condition where Batman walked on the train. And in those conditions, about half of the people who did stand up and offered a seat said they didn't notice Batman.
Your
mic's off on Peta.
The comments on Instagram about this were very much like, oh, well, of course you do the right thing when Batman's there because of justice. And I was like, no, it's not that. It's that their subconscious saw someone in a costume and paid more attention. It broke them out. It's not necessarily that they're like, oh, well, it's Batman.
Or potentially, because the numbers would kind of work out that there's that chunk of people who notice the person needing help, and then the other chunk needed the pulse of something else happening, that the ones who notice Batman are the additional people.
Yes, exactly.
There's that other potential as well. But isn't that fascinating, Max, that with Batman present, you're more likely to offer help? I'd like to think, Max, that this show is the audio Batman of your life. Waking you up.
Yeah.
And I think 4ZZZ as a whole is the audio Batman, waking us up, shaking us up a bit out of our routine and the monotony, and offering something a little different.
And to keep the station going, go to our website at 4ZZZ.org.au/support, and you just subscribe. Under 18, $25. A pet is $25. Concession is $40. A full subscription for 12 months is $80. A passionate for $140. You get a shirt and all sorts of things, a tote bag, and a super sub. You can get your name written downstairs in gold ink, $500. Any more to add, Issy? Prize of the week? Any of that?
Oh, I'm trying to pull it up. I think it's still our lovely Dave's Wines, who have moved in close to Fortitude Valley, and they've got a little pack for you if you subscribe.
$500 worth, yeah.
Yes, sir.
A wine tasting for 6 and a mixed case of 12 wine.
You
Dave
can win that.
Yes.
Go into the running when you subscribe this month.
Okay.
Easy peasy Christmas present, by the way. Can I just say? So
great present for the holidays. If you don't know what to get someone, get them a warm inner glow. Subscribe them to 4ZZZ. And you can do that for your pets too. You don't know what to get your pet for Christmas? It can be a difficult time. I usually get our snake and mouse. But maybe this year he'll get a 4ZZZ subscription.
How appropriate was that?
Batman costume not included, by the way. Disclaimer.
You tune into 4ZZZ. Show's no idea. With me, Max. We've got Issy. We've got Peta. And we've got our friendly. What do we have a descriptor for you, Gabe, at all?
Hey, don't give him my title. I made that.
An unfriendly.
I can be your unfriendly disease bird flu. Unfriendly bird flu.
He's Gabriel Terrestrial. I'm Peter Moraine.
Yeah.
What? Yesterday, Max, there was some news that a lot of people expected, but is still pretty gut-wrenching to hear. There was testing done that was released and confirmed H5N1 high pathogenicity avian influenza, also known as the H5 bird flu, was present in samples taken from southern elephant seals on Heard Island. You may have heard of Heard before because it was got in the news earlier this year when US President Donald Trump caused a bit of a stir by placing some tariffs on the Heard and McDonald Islands earlier this year.
Those penguins be creating. You don't know. They out here.
And so Heard Island is part of a cluster of islands and rocky outcrops that does usually get grouped in together with the nearby McDonald Islands and another group. The Heard and McDonald Islands, they're called, and they're an Australian territory. And they are about as remote as you can possibly get on planet Earth. Really? It is 4,000 kilometres southwest of Perth. It is in the bottom of the middle of the ocean, in the subantarctic ring around Antarctica, and is the peak of a massive underwater mountain range. So, highest mountain in Australia is often called Mount Kosciuszko at about 2,200 metres high. Yeah. Not true at all. Australia has much higher mountains. A lot of them are in the Australian Antarctic territory. We have about a seventh of Antarctica that Australia controls. It's not really Australia. It's kind of a territory that we control. But the Heard and McDonald Islands are
that is Australia.
Gotcha. That is ours. Yeah. So on paper, the tallest mountain in Australia is actually Mount Dawson, which is Heard Island. Like Heard Island is an island that leads up to the top of Mount Dawson. Right.
It's a stratovolcano, right? That's like pointy. It's like a real mountain.
Proper Mount Fuji looking thing. Yeah, okay. And it's on it is one of Australia's 2 active volcanoes. Called Big Ben. Yeah. The second is on McDonald Island next door.
So, only got 2.
It's a really crazy place. It is blisteringly cold. There are these active volcanoes. They have been exploding in our lifetimes. Like these things. This is a really
and yet we don't hear about it on the news.
Crazy place. On the islands are millions of penguins, whales in the ocean, seabirds on the island, all sorts of types of seals on the island. And in the 19th century, it did get hit quite badly from sealing that was going on, and then there was some whaling and sealing continuing into the 20th century, so the 1900s. Since then, though, the numbers of most species are rebounding. It is as close to pristine as you can get.
It's pretty wild.
Right? Yeah. It is wild, proper wild. To the point where often when scientific expeditions are done to Heard Island, you can't go to Heard Island. You just can't. But when the scientists go to Heard Island, they often just can't get on shore. It's too bad. Yeah, it is too rough, and there's nowhere to land. They can't get to shore. Yeah. So
also, isn't it sometimes just covered in seals, and like they can't really get through?
Oh, no, you can
Heard
pass
that.
that on. But yeah, there's you can like there are photos of Herd Island where you can take a photo and you cannot see the ground for the number of penguins that are in the way, or you can't see the ground for the number of seals that are in the way. And so in late October, there were some samples collected after the Australian Antarctic Program scientists on one of their outings to Herd Island. They went to Herd Island and then now in Antarctica,
what a great
filling up
trip.
Casey Station. And so they detected unusual levels of mortality, so deaths in elephant seals, the southern elephant seals that are on Herd Island, resident on Herd Island. And they suspected H5N1 bird flu, H5 bird flu, but they had to send the samples back to the lab. So they've just come back from a CSIRO centre in Geelong, and they have confirmed it is that H5 bird flu hitting these southern elephant seals on Herd Island, which is pretty horrible news because we can see from elsewhere in the world that it's a horrible thing for wildlife, this virus. There's a study that was published in 2024 that's found to date in the last couple of years. I think it only got to South America in 2022. And so in, I guess, the 2 or 3 years since then, more than 30,000 sea lions, South American sea lions, have died along the coast of Peru and Chile, and hundreds of thousands of birds as well.
And we're one of the last, if not the last continent to get it,
Australia
right?
is the last continent not to get, other than Antarctica. Oh, actually, I think Antarctica may have it as well.
Yeah.
So yes, no, it does because the king penguins have been getting hit by it. So Australia's the last continent that doesn't have it. It's not a matter of if it will get here; it's when it will get here. And so the fact that it's that one stepping stone closer along the southern part of the country is, just another step toward this inevitable future where it's going to get to the mainland. It's going to do damage on Herd Island and the surrounding McDonald Islands. Thankfully, they didn't see unusual mortality in the penguins and other seabirds, at least
surprising.
yet, when they were on Herd Island.
Wonder how it got there then.
They're going to definitely just from a bird that they didn't detect or from the elephant seals dispersing.
Because the main
between
way
the
it's getting
nearby
around
islands.
the world is through migratory birds spreading it.
Yeah, the seals could have passed it as well, though. Or it could have been asymptomatic or not deadly in one of the other. They didn't test the birds. They just were looking for mortality. So
gotcha.
There could have been birds that were just not dying from it, that had spread it. Because it is in the islands nearby. They're sort of between South America and Herd Island. It's just been making its way down those islands. And so it was inevitable it was going to reach here, but it's going to do a lot of damage. It's going to be a lot of elephant seals and fur seals and other types of seals. And
they're really worried about the Australian sea lions because they're an endangered population.
Yeah, and so it's even closer to here. So they're going back in late December to Herd Island. There's another expedition from the Australian Antarctic Division. So they'll be able to look into more about what's happening there, about the future of the wildlife. But yes, it has raised more it gets everyone's attention on it again. About it's going to be something that hits us here. It's either going to come down probably from migratory birds migrating to the north of the country, including Queensland and southeast Queensland. There's a lot of migratory birds that land in Moreton Bay,
true.
so it could come in through there. I heard one scientist who thinks honestly the reason it hasn't come down that route yet is because the birds that are particularly susceptible for it die before they reach.
It's such a long migration.
Yeah.
These migratory birds, when they land in places like Moreton Island, are already on the brink. Like they've lost so much of their body fat, so much. Like the migration itself takes a real toll. So adding an illness on top of that would be a real factor on whether they can get here or not. And it could be what has actually protected us so far is that we are remote, we're difficult to get to. And so all these birds probably can't spread it here as easily. But then, as Gabe says, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. It will happen.
It could fly across from these seabirds like albatrosses that come around and hit Herd Island and end up in southern Australia as well. So it'll get here. It's just a matter of how it does and what happens when it does. And just sort of some precursors that when it does arrive, it's going to be horrible for a lot of Australian animals.
Oh, God.
Really
all
bad.
sorts of seabirds, pelicans, black swans, native ducks, all that sort of stuff. They're going to get hit really badly. It's going to have implications for poultry.
Like it has in the US.
And also, all the farm birds that we have.
I was going to say, the other issue that also was observed in the US was also bird flu jumping to cows, weirdly enough. And we, as
cattle.
Australians, huge dairy and huge poultry industries. So this is going to be absolutely devastating, much like we see in any biosecurity issue. So,
it's one to start just mentally preparing for. There's going to be a big bird flu hitting Australia at some point in the not too distant future. It's going to hit not just a lot of wildlife, but also a lot of agricultural products and industries. if you do come across, when it does start hitting and it does start spreading through the country, the one of the hardest things is going to be when you come across wildlife or when farmers come across infected animals that they're looking after. The answer is going to have to be quarantine and destroy, so euthanize basically, or leave. Because anything else risks spreading it further. But also, yes,
if you're not a professional, don't touch it.
Yeah.
Do not touch it. It's not worth you bringing it to a vet to do anything. Don't touch it.
And if you do get that if you do, call a wildlife rescue group or something, and they tell you don't touch that bird, leave it. If it's deceased, maybe they tell you to bury it or something like that.
So dogs don't bite it.
That is, and yeah, be careful with dogs and cats. Cats shouldn't be outside anyway. Dogs should be in a leash anyway. There's potential that they can catch it or spread it as well. So just be prepared to be very vigilant when this does hit, because it's going to be quite bad. And especially in southeast Queensland, where there are those big populations of migratory birds that could be bringing it in, it could be one of those spots that sees quite a big impact.
Cool.
What is the independent variable that makes No Idea tick? That's what I want to know.
You tune into 4 Triple Z, and the show is No Idea with me, Max. We've got Peta. We've got our friendly Gabe, and
now he is
friendly Gabe.
Recently rebooted.
An irresistible Issy. What do we got?
Whoa! Wake up, babes! New evil native bee found, and I'll get into why it's evil. A horned native bee dubbed the Megachilidus Lucifer has been discovered in Western Australia's goldfields. It was identified while surveying a rare wildflower, and the species stood out due to its unusual devilish facial horns. The Megachilidae is a cosmopolitan family of mostly solitary bees, and the DNA testing on this new bee confirmed it was previously unknown. So this is a brand new species identified. Brand new bee. As I said, the unusual species
better believe it.
Oh, God. The unusual species was spotted during targeted surveys of a critically endangered wildflower, and I'm going to mess this up, I'm sorry, the Marianthus aquilinoris, which grows only within the Premier Range region located between Norseman and Hayden in South Australia, or in Western Australia, pardon me. The Curtin Adjacent Research Fellow, Dr. Kit Prendergast from the Curtin School of Molecular and Life Sciences, I don't have a QS ranking, unfortunately.
That's right.
That's fine.
They explain that the female bee's distinctive horned face inspired the name Lucifer, a term meaning light bringer in Latin, whilst also referencing its devil-like appearance.
I imagine it like the little, emoji where it's the little purple devil, but it's smiling.
Yes.
It's like,
kind of. I was going to say, a photo of it does look like a little bee wearing a devil Halloween costume. It's quite cool.
Aww.
I also love this quote, and I love Gen Z becoming researchers because this is great. When writing up the new species description, I was watching the Netflix show Lucifer at the time, and the name just fit perfectly. I'm also a big fan of the Netflix character Lucifer, so it was a no-brainer. Thank you.
Perfect. Someone tell that writer immediately.
This find also exposes major gaps in bee surveying and Australia's ongoing pollination crisis, especially in areas under pressure from mining. Dr. Prendergast said many mining companies still don't survey for native bees, so we may be missing undescribed species, including those that play crucial roles in supporting threatened plants and ecosystems. I think it's particularly interesting as this species was found whilst looking for another critically endangered wildflower. So if neither of these had been surveyed, we may have lost both of those endangered species. So I think this is really, really sick, not only for adding to the Megachilidae's species, table or tree, but also how it goes hand in hand when surveying areas for mining, but also for various other kind of agriculture areas.
It's especially in that area too. That's one of the biodiversity hotspots of the world, and it's probably the least appreciated biodiversity hotspot in the country. Is that southwest chunk of WA? If you walk into the quote unquote native section at your local Bunnings or nursery, thank you. And most of those flowers they have there are going to be from that southwest WA spot, so they're not really native to where you're probably buying them from if you're on the east coast. But it is a hotspot of those flowers and these incredible biodiversity of plants that we're starting to appreciate. But yeah, Issy, there's then going to be all these insects that are built into this ecosystem that we probably barely scratched the surface of.
Cool.
Yeah, that's my new science for you.
No idea. Space news. ISS Max, I'm saying move over Matt Damon with his highly unlikely Mars recovery.
Highly unlikely. And that's the problem that we have with that movie. Yeah.
Sandra
Recovery with the angle on the recovery was just all off, you know?
Sandra Bullock. Bullock.
Let's be clear on that one.
Bullock. All sorts.
Making it back to the ISS. There is another uplifting survival story from space based on fact. A while back, ISS astronauts affixed some moss spores to the outside of the International Space Station. They were left in the harshness of space for 9 months. It's actually 283 days before being retrieved. Once retrieved, they were returned to Earth. Back in the lab, it was found that 80% of the space-hardened moss spores had survived. Moreover,
That's incredible.
89% that survived were able to germinate.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is incredible. But also, imagine being that moss. There's a story to tell.
Yeah, take that, tardigrades. Yeah.
Man, yeah, tardigrade's out for it now.
And Starliner on Monday, NASA and Boeing announced that the next test of Boeing's Starliner will only carry cargo to the ISS. The first and only Starliner crew had to return to Earth aboard another spacecraft.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that because the last one's got stuck? They think
That's
it might
right.
be how they got there.
Although NASA test pilots Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams managed to dock Starliner to the International Space Station back in 24, the capsule had so many problems that NASA ordered it to come back empty, leaving the astronauts stuck there for more than 9 months. That is it.
Hey, they weren't stuck there.
No,
Remember,
true.
They weren't stuck there.
Yeah.
They just happened to be there without a ride.
Yeah. But it was all according to plan.
Exactly.
B.
And B.
Sign us out, Gabe.
That is all we have time for on this H5N1 free show, brought to you thanks to the subscribers to 4ZZZ. You can join them at 4ZZZ.org.au, which is also where you can listen back to the full recording of this show with all the music, as well as a bunch of our previous shows. The condensed version is available on your podcasting platform of choice. Search up No Idea 4ZZZ. That's no with a K, No Idea. Thanks to Toby for editing all of that up. Thanks to you, Max, Issy, and Peta for your stories this week. We'll be back in your ears next week. And between now and then, keep your crab pots away from wolves. Hop on the Metro in your Batman costume to spread prosocial behaviour. Try really hard to detect your magnetite and beware the cuteness of the new native Lucifer bee.
And we'll speak to you next week.
See ya.
Later.
Yeah.
I'm a goddamn marvel of modern science.